On today's episode, you're going to hear Cheli and I discussing a good friend and someone we've both worked with quite a bit, Norman Parker. Ironically, this past week we lost Norman, and it's a huge loss to everybody who knew and loved him. So I just wanted to take a minute and sort of remember him a little bit. Norman was a focus puller when I started operating and taught me more about this business than probably anyone I know out there. He was also a really, really good friend of mine for the past 20 some years, maybe even more than that. I'm not even sure. He was hysterical and smart and kind and the type of person who, because this was back in the day, would throw cables at second ACs when they weren't the right one, and then take out $1,000 every Christmas and walk around and hand $50 bills to homeless people. He'd give you the shirt off his back if you needed it, and he had this crazy way of both convincing you that he could speak a language that didn't exist, and also talking to you where he would drop words out, and it made it sound like he was speaking gibberish. He could convince anyone of anything, and there's so many stories I could go on an entire podcast about him. I actually asked him if he would do a podcast once, and he said, no, I don't have anything to talk about, which was complete BS. Norman would do things like calling up Panavision and convincing them that the Pope was coming to visit and that he was a cardinal with the Vatican, convincing a production manager that he needed 10 parking spaces because he drove a hook and ladder and his second AC drove the back of it. Just crazy, crazy stuff. He was just an exceptionally funny person. He gave money to more organizations that he believed in than anyone I know. He was a vegan foodie before veganism or even foodies were a thing, and just was an extraordinary human being, and the fact that he's gone is still sort of resonating, and was a huge loss to the film industry, even though he hadn't pulled focus in a long time. He's one of the best focus pullers out there, and also a huge loss of institutional knowledge, and being one of the smartest people I've ever met and well-read people I've ever met, a huge loss of just knowledge, and I miss him dearly, and I appreciate you allowing me this moment to just share a little bit about his life with you, because to know him was to love him, and he is missed. On today's episode, we'll talk about starting out at UPS, making game day decisions, Bound, Joker 2, and of course, getting noticed while cleaning Ed McMahon's lapel. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Margaret. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I'm Dave Comides, your host, and as I always say, I'm very excited today to have a great guest on the podcast. First, I see Cheli Clayton, who we've worked together a bunch over the years, but not nearly enough, unfortunately, for whatever reason. Hopefully, we'll work again more in the future. Some of the many credits that Cheli has. Joker, Folie, Deux, Legion, Extant, Jersey Boys. Those are all as a first AC, and the list goes on and on. As a second AC back in the day, Team America World Police, which I have to ask you about, Iron Jawed Angels, Daddy Daycare, The Lost World Jurassic Park, and as a loader, just because they're very cool, Bulworth, If These Walls Could Talk, and Bound, which is kind of one of my favorite movies that nobody has seen. Cheli, thanks for being on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, now that I'm not in California anymore.
I know. I hope your move went well.
It did, but you got to get a job in Atlanta, or well, I can't get a job in California right now, but so you got to get a
Yeah.
job in Atlanta so we can
All
work
right, I'm
together.
available.
Just everybody listening. How'd you get here? What's your story?
I have a funny story, as a lot of people do. I grew up in a household where we didn't watch movies or television. We weren't allowed, really. We were allowed 30 minutes of television a day after school, and that was usually like Gilligan's Island or something along those lines. And then,
Wow.
but at night, I would like sneak and open the door, like there was a pocket door, and peek while my parents were watching, like
Oh,
The
so your
Love Boat
parents
or
got to
Fantasy
watch.
Island.
Yeah,
Yes,
your
but we
parents got to
weren't.
watch TV,
Yeah,
but you
but we
didn't.
weren't.
Okay,
But when they were gone, we would turn it on. But
of
then one
course.
person was always on the lookout. They're home. They're home. Turn off the TV. But my dad would come in and feel the back of the TV. It's warm.
No way!
And-
Wow, that's
anyway,
great.
yeah, the first movie I saw in theater was eighth grade graduation, and it was the one day we had free, and it was Poltergeist. I mean, talk about a first movie. Oh my
Well, so
God.
what are you? You're like 12 years old or something like that,
No,
or 12?
I was like
I don't know what.
14.
14. Okay, I don't know what
14.
it is anymore.
Yeah,
So,
because
oh wow.
I was the oldest in my class. Anyway, so I was like
What
14.
besides it being Poltergeist, was it like overwhelming to be in a theater with the big screen and all these people? I mean, like,
Oh, I was just more concerned about the cute boy that I had a crush on that was sitting next to me,
of course you were. Okay, you don't even remember the movie, do you?
No. I just remember it being freaky, but like also being nervous, and all our friends, and I was so awkward. I was so awkward.
That's awesome. Nice, nice.
Anyway, so it was not something that I really knew existed, this business. And I definitely saw, like, Entertainment Tonight and things like that. And so it was like I would see people with cameras, but I didn't
Yeah.
really know what it was.
Where'd you grow up?
In Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, okay. So not
And
Hollywood.
no, no, no. So, and I grew up, I went to high school. I went to the University of Louisville. I worked my way through from started working in junior year, working different jobs, and then just didn't like 9 to 5, didn't like 5 to 9, didn't like all the schedules were like, oh, I'd hate that schedule. I hate that schedule. I can't find in
Yeah.
this schedule. I can't do this. So one of my many jobs, I had like on a dinner cruise ship on the weekend. I was working for United Parcel Service. That was my main job, working my way up that corporate ladder. And then on the side, because I'm a tall person, and people would say, "Oh, you should model. You should model." But I was very uncomfortable in front of a camera. And so I went to this modeling agency, and they took pictures, and they were very awkward. But then when we would be in person, I would get the jobs for the the uh, the live jobs, like the runway
Oh,
jobs or the personality jobs or things like that. So I just said, okay, I'll do that. I'm not comfortable in front of the camera.
wait. So you were like a
So
runway model?
local, very
Yeah, but
local.
still,
Yeah.
that's that's great.
Yeah. No. That was fun because that's just like, there's just a big spotlight, and you're just, walking, and that was fun. That was fun. But so they sent me on a job to be a Southern Belle at a Kentucky Derby party. And the biggest Kentucky Derby party is the night is a couple days before. It's the Bill Samuels has a Derby party, and he's the man who makes Maker's Mark. So
Oh,
he
so this
has
is
this,
like a well-known thing in that world.
yeah,
This is
huge.
like a big deal.
Kentucky Derby is like the one time of year when Louisville, Kentucky is the place to be. Like celebrities, people from
Yeah.
all over the world, the
Oh,
wealthiest people
wow.
in the world who are into horses go there. There's an actual area in Churchill Down called Millionaires Row, and
Whoa.
that's where they all sit.
Oh, I had
And
no idea. Wait,
it's
so back up for a second. As someone who
yeah,
grew up in Connecticut and has no idea about the South, although in Atlanta,
yeah.
so I'm sort of beginning to learn some things. What does it mean sent to be a Southern belle? What exactly does
So
that mean?
just as a ambiance at the party, like
But like you have to
I had to,
dress a certain way
yeah,
and there are
yeah. So I had to
mannerisms,
go
like
to a
it's a
costume
whole.
shop and get a dress, and
Ah,
then walk. I was walking around the party, as a Southern Belle. So they had four of us walking around as Southern Belles at this party.
wow. Okay.
So I was having the time of my life. The other models were so pissed because they felt this kind of job was beneath them. And I was like, this is so much fun. What are you talking about? Get to walk around, talk to everybody. And so Ed McMahon was there, which some of your people know who that is and some won't.
Yeah.
Um,
Ed McMahon was Johnny Carson's sidekick. Am I right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
He was
Yeah.
the guy who sat on the couch and laughed at everything, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's Johnny.
There's him. That's right. That's right.
So he
And
was
just so everybody
there.
knows, Johnny Carson was a talk show host. You can look it up. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was there. And because he was there, Lifestyles the Rich and Famous was there they were, I guess, doing a piece on him.
Oh, this is great.
So Lifestyles the Rich and Famous, which used to be like one of the first celebrity kind of shows
Robin
where they
Leach.
they would follow a
Yep.
celebrity around. So Robin Leach wasn't there. This was a background crew. It was a director, a boom operator, and a camera operator. And they
Okay.
were just following around getting pieces for their shoot. And at one point, as I was standing near him, someone walked by and spilled wine on him. Well, I'm the Southern Belle, so of course, oh, here, let me help you. So I'm like, it's like his lapel, and helping clean. And I look over and the camera's pointing at me. And again, I'm like, what, what? And so I see, someone's holding the camera and
Yeah.
one guy's telling him what to do. And there's this boom operator. I don't know what it was, but I was like, it's a big fuzzy
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
And they were just, and if you ever get a piece of this, I've never seen the footage, but
I'm gonna, as soon as we get off, I'm spending the rest of
apparently
the day.
I'm in this. But I was just so fascinated. So then they kept following me around because then they thought this was funny.
Yeah.
So when I was done, I went over and I was like, what are you guys doing? What is happening here? And they're like, oh, we're just getting footage for this. And I was like, you mean that's a job?
How old are you at this point?
24.
Okay. All right.
24
Yeah.
or 25. So I'm like
Yeah.
climbing the corporate ladder at UPS and just ready to like keel over every day because I'm like, oh, this is so boring. And
Ugh.
it just was, I mean, there was something about it that was great. There was a certain amount of security it offered, but I always wanted to move to California. Then this was, it was just like, I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
So they said, we're actually going to this other party tomorrow night, which is the Barnstable Brown party, which is the Doublemint twins. The original Doublemint twins are the Barnstable twins.
Wow. Okay.
And so they have this big house and they
Huge.
have the celebrity party and all the celebrities go there. So they said, why don't you come with us and you can carry some of our stuff? And I was like, okay. So
Wow.
I show up,
All right.
I show up the next day. I have to go find another dress. I show up the next day. And as I'm walking through the gates carrying this stuff, it's like all my friends, because it's the kind of thing, it's in my neighborhood, but it's like the big house in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And you go and you watch the celebrities come in and I'm walking in there. And my friends are like, Cheli, what are you doing there? And I was like,
because you've been invited to the big party when it's always like we watch. I see. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So I go in, I remember sitting down at a table. So I just helped them carry stuff in. And then they were like, okay, just go over there. And when we need you, we'll call you.
Yeah.
So at one point I stood up, and as I stood up, I turned around. Another woman who was exactly my height, I'm 6 feet tall, turned around and we met eyes, and it was Brooke Shields. And she goes, whoa. And I said, whoa. And she goes, this doesn't happen every day, does it? And then she introduced herself. Yeah. What's funny is I'll cut away for just a second. Years later, I was out in Los Angeles. I was doing promos for Suddenly Susan.
I was going to ask you if you ran into her. Yeah.
Yeah. So I walk out with my tape measure and she stands up and she looks at me and she goes, whoa, this doesn't happen every day. And I laughed and I said, that's exactly the same thing you said the last time we did this. And she said, have we met? And I said, Barnstable Brown party. And she goes, oh my God, we did meet.
Oh, that's so great. This is so great. I have to tell you, I hope nobody's bored listening to this because this is like the same old story that everybody has of how they got in the business. This is great. This is fantastic. So, and were you totally starstruck? Because I mean, Brooke Shields was a huge actress at that point, right? I mean, what year is this?
I have not seen any of her movies. I've only seen
Oh, that's right.
I've only seen the ads.
Oh,
I've
so
only
she's
seen
not
her
a
as a
big deal to
model.
you. I mean, yeah, yeah,
I
okay.
mean,
Oh, interesting.
I was never really starstruck because I didn't grow up looking at them. And I actually think that that's one of the keys to success
Yeah,
is not being starstruck, because anybody on set feels if you're starstruck and then you get pushed away. But if you're not starstruck and you just treat people like regular human beings that they are, then they're much more comfortable with you.
it's
So I
great.
think that
Yeah,
that actually worked in my
yeah,
favor.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so after that uh, incident, I was like, I want to do this. I got to figure this out. So they said, well, we'll be back and we'll call you. So I was like, the next year they called me. So they called me and they said, we're back for doing MTV Sports. So can you take off work and come work with us for a week? And I was like, yes. So I took my vacation for the whole of Derby week. I got paid like, $100 a day. And I was like, woohoo! And 14-hour days. My first job was to pick up Dan Cortese, who was the host in my Toyota Corolla. And yeah, I remember I pulled up to the airport and he got in the back seat of my Toyota Corolla, and I thought that was really funny.
This is so great.
Yeah. So I did, the whole thing with them again. I went to all the events. I carried everything. This time they had the person who was operating the camera was a woman.
Oh,
So and I don't remember her name. I wish I did, but so they had me running around with her and carrying this really heavy bag with these big round things that every now and then she would go, "Give me a new mag." I did no idea what it was, and I would just hand her this and hand it back, and it was such a heavy bag, and I just ran around with her everywhere. Had no idea what I was
wow.
doing. I was just still,
Yeah,
I never even picked up a camera. I didn't know what any of it was. So I was like, this is it. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Had no sleep the whole week. I didn't care. We were everywhere doing something different. It was exciting. I was like, this is what I'm doing. So I networked my way around town for the next 6 months, just doing whatever I could do. I still kept my full-time job at UPS and then just would take days off or do it on weekends or figure it out. And then a little movie of the week came through town it was called Saratoga Summer, but it's A Horse for Danny is the working title. Robert Urich and Lily Sobieski's first movie. And I got a
huh.
call to go in and be a director's assistant. And so I went in, I interviewed, they said, okay. I said, well, I could probably do this during the day and my other job at night. And they were like, no. So I went in and I quit UPS. When you quit
Wow.
UPS, you can never work for them again. Now I was heading straight for stock options, 3 weeks vacation, and I went in there. I was like, "Goodbye! I'm going to work on a movie."
Wow. And
They thought I was
was there a part of you that was sort of like, am I doing the right thing? Or were you just like,
no,
nope, I'm committed. That's
no,
great. Good for
no,
you.
no. I was like, I'm going. This is what I'm
This
doing."
is what I'm doing. That's so
Yeah.
great.
So I quit my job and I called them up and I was like, "I'm coming in there." It's like, "Oh, we're so sorry. We had to hire somebody else because she has more experience." And I was like, "Oh no, you don't seem to
Oh.
understand what's just happened." So they said, oh." So, and the production coordinator who called me was a friend. And so she was like, we got to find something for her. So
Yeah.
I ended up going from director's assistant to craft service assistant.
Oh, assistant, craft service assistant. Wow. Okay. All right. Still an important job. It gets you
Yes,
on the
yes.
set. You meet people.
So, yes.
Yep.
But this is going to tell you how I get into the camera department. So
Yeah.
I show up, I'm eager to go. I'm ready. The craft service guy is like, he puts out one of those big pots of coffee, 3 or 4 bins filled with packaged snacks, goes back to the truck and opens his book. So I'm standing at the craft service table, looking around. People are walking up. They're like, everyone's unhappy. I'm walking around meeting people, talking to people. And before you know it, people are like, oh, this is the worst craft service ever. And I was like, well, what does craft service normally look like? And so they told me. So I went around and I went to the craft service guy and I said, hey, can I go shopping tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I went around to every person on the crew and I said, if there was one thing you could have on the table, what would it be?
Oh, it's
And
genius.
I remember there's a first AD named Susan Carpenter, and she said Tab Cola. And then the gaffer Austin Goss, who RIP is no longer with us, but he wanted watermelon Jolly Ranchers. And everybody had their thing. And then I
It's amazing to
also,
me that you remember this stuff.
because I have told this story, and those were
That's
two that
great.
really those were two requests that really stood out to me.
Yep.
So I also got this tiny little cappuccino machine. So the next day, people come in and they're like, "Oh my God, everything's here," and everything was great. So it's good. So now I'm walking around waiting on people. Can I get you something? Can I get you something? Can I get you something? And at lunch, I made cappuccinos. I'd never made cappuccinos before, but I made cappuccinos. So I walk around and give everyone a cappuccino, and everyone takes a cappuccino. The next day, I came around with cappuccinos. No one took a cappuccino.
Oh.
This tells me craft service coffee making was not my forte.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, understood. Okay. All right. Well, that's good
However,
because you might still
yeah,
be stuck there. So that's a good thing.
right. So,
Not
however, the
stuck there.
camera
That's not the right.
department, this camera department, the 2 second ACs, um, Jacqueline Nivens, who is still working as a second AC. She's in the
Mm-hmm.
NCI. She's been on NCIS for
Oh
like a
yeah,
million
Oh
years.
yeah, I've worked with
Jacqueline,
Jackie.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
yeah, and then Celine, her last name was Siasio, but it was Hayes at the time. She was this pistol of a camera second AC, and Maggie Bates was the loader. So 3 women, and this was 1994. So
That
again,
was
I'm thinking
rare,
this is a
right?
very normal thing because now my two of
Yeah.
my experiences have been women in the camera department. So I'm not
Oh yeah.
thinking there's anything abnormal about this at all.
Yeah.
So they were the girls I was drawn to. Like I just didn't really feel makeup, hair, and wardrobe because I was just not that. I wasn't. It just wasn't my. I don't know. I wasn't into makeup and clothes and things. I was more into like, oh, I want to carry these. I want to run. Like want to work. Want to work.
Yeah.
And then the AD department, I was like, there was something about that was attractive because I liked the organizing and the running of things. But it did seem a little like they had to yell and be bossy and all of that. And that didn't draw me in as well. So one day I was standing with the camera girls and they were like complaining because they were on a racetrack and everybody was spread out everywhere. And they were just really, they had 5 cameras and 2 camera crews and they were really
Oof.
they didn't have enough people. So I said, well, hey, I'm just standing around serving snacks. So, if you need help, let me know. So I just started hanging around wherever they were. One day we were in the middle of this racetrack in southern Indiana, and there's a pile of cases. And Celine yells at me, grab the 11-1 and take it over to that camera over there. And I was like, what's an 11-1? And she goes, Cheli, the cases are labeled, figure it out. Last time I asked a question like that, I went over, I picked up the 11-1, I put it on my shoulder, and I ran across the field.
Wow.
So anyone who knows what an 11-1 is understands that's. So she just looked at the first AD and said, she's mine for the rest of the show.
Yeah, and
And
by the
that
way,
is how I got in the camera department.
the point being the 11-1 is not a small piece of equipment, and I'm assuming you had it in the case as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
But
bit.
I'd also been working at UPS for 5 years.
Oh yeah, okay.
So, and I worked in the international multiples, which means nothing to everybody else, but it's like a lot of moving the cases.
Yeah.
And then a lot of up
so you were ready
and down.
for it.
And
Yeah.
So I was very physically was like, oh yeah, pick that up, put it on my shoulder and run. And that's
great.
That's how I got in the camera department.
And so they basically were like, no one's taking her. She's ours now.
Yeah. So I just had to, but the craft service guy said she's still got to set up in the morning with me and she's still got to clean up at the end of the day. So I didn't unload and load the camera truck, but I was with them all day long.
Great. And so how much longer was the movie? How long did you spend?
4 weeks.
Wow. Which just boot camp, right? Like learning every day.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then it ended and then I had no job. And I was like, oh, that's what this means. So luckily I'd always been thrifty, in terms of keeping things together. I had bought a house the year before.
Wow.
Buying a house. Well, I mean, at that time, they were much cheaper in Louisville, but also anyway, I'd bought a starter house there. But my uncle lived in San Diego. And I had always wanted to move to California. When my parents split up when I was 15, he flew us out and I got off the plane in San Diego. I was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I was just always trying to figure out a way. So first I went after that movie wrapped, that was in Atlanta based, which was Joe Thomas. I don't know if you know Joe. He was the first A camera first. He's retired now, but he's amazing. He was the A camera first. So I went down and I visited them. I learned how to load at Victor Duncan, what was used to be Victor Duncan down
Yeah.
there. And I spent 2 weeks there, and everyone I met said, "There's no work here. You got to go to LA."
Yeah.
So I flew to visit my uncle in San Diego, and while I was there, I called Susan Carpenter, the same one who I liked Tab Cola, which is probably why I remember it. And she said, "Cheli, I'm starting this movie called Virtuosity, and they're hiring a camera PA today. So why don't you get up here?" So I drove up there. I rented a car. I drove up there straight into Paramount Stage 4. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I met, the second was Nick Schuster. The first AC was Mike Weldon. And I didn't know who they
Okay.
were at the time, but and it was Gail Tattersall was the DP. So I met all three of
Oh.
them, and they were like, I said, "I want to be a camera PA. I'm, just starting out." And they was like, "When can you start?" And I was like, "Well, I would need to go get my car in Kentucky and drive it out here. So next week." And they were like, "Okay, great." So I was like, "Oh my God, I have a job." So I drove back to
Wow.
San Diego. I changed my flight. I flew back to Louisville. I told my boyfriend, "I'm moving to California.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry. We'll figure it out, but I'm
Yeah.
going."
See ya.
But he did drive out with me so that we could
Okay.
drive
Oh,
straight through.
there you go.
And then he
Yeah.
flew back.
Okay.
I got here in 3.5 days, and I called them, and Mike goes, "Cheli, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, I know. Oh my gosh.
We had to hire the producer's son."
Oh, and it's even worse. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And so I was like, "Okay, well,"
Yeah.
but at the same time, I was like,
It got
"I'm
your car
here.
out there, right? You're there.
I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm here."
But
And I had a couch to sleep on, and so I
okay,
stayed.
so I want to back up a second. Number
Mhm.
one, driving into Paramount, you just sort of said, "And I'm driving into Paramount." Like, was that? I mean,
Yeah.
was that like? I mean, because I remember the first time I went ever went on a studio, I was like, "This is unbelievable." Or what? I mean, was it just
It
sort of
was
like
just a big warehouse to me
you
because
didn't?
it looked just like
It's so
UPS.
funny.
It was
Yeah,
a big warehouse, and I was like, "Oh
that's
my God."
I
And there was a
kind of I
guard
kind of
shack, and
figured. Yeah, I kind of figured that would be your answer, but I just had to ask. And clearly, on top of that, you didn't realize how amazing everything that was sort of falling into place, even though it eventually
no,
didn't. It
no,
was just
no,
like, oh yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's great.
no, no.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. No, it
So
was just like,
now you're in Hollywood. You don't really know many people, or one or
yeah,
two. You don't have a
yeah.
job. You're sleeping on a couch. Your
Mhm,
car's out here, and
mhm,
your relationship with your boyfriend is going very well.
mm. Yeah, we did break up,
Yeah.
maybe about 2 months later. It was just, like, clear a lot of it was just clear that this was my life, and
Yeah.
his life was very much there, and
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So
But
how'd you go about, I mean, how do you go about meeting people? Like, how do you go about networking and
well, I had before I left, I had gotten whoever knew whatever. I'm very good at the networking part.
yeah.
And there was one person I worked with at UPS, one of my employees, her uncle worked in accounting, and he was here doing payroll on the movie Boys on the Side.
Huh.
So I called him and I was like, "Is there anything you can do? Anything I can do?" And he said, "Sure. Why don't you come over and type up files for me, payroll files?" And it was back when they did that. So I went over. This was Warner Brothers, and so now going into Warner Brothers was for 2 weeks, and I'm like typing up these files. But I went through everyone's files to see how much everybody made, so I could know. And then I was reading the contracts, and that's when I learned, like, who one actor couldn't have a bigger trailer than the other actor, and
Oh, it literally
there
said
was
this
oh
stuff.
yeah, it literally says this in the contract.
Wow.
Like, this person has to have the best trailer, this person has to have the best this.
Hmm.
So it was educational, and it got me a little money.
Yeah.
Besides that, it never went anywhere. Another I just started calling different people. The movie on the DP on the movie that was in Kentucky was Steve Fierberg.
Okay.
And so I called him. He gave me some names to call. I called them. I got, just little jobs coming here and there. And then um, at a certain point, I was referred to be a video playback person on Bound. And at that
Oh,
time, it was the Combo 8. so video playback is they just needed someone to stand beside the directors and
Yeah.
hit record and then
Yeah.
stop, rewind, play. When
But
they,
this was like that big thing in a case where it was a monitor and on top there was like a little
yes,
video cassette thing, right?
yes,
So
yes.
yeah, so literally, I mean, nothing against you, but like anybody could do this sort of.
Yes, and
It's not
that's why at that
not
time a
high-tech.
video playback person was not a skilled position. It was just
Yeah.
someone, and just someone to help out with the camera department. They wanted a
Hmm.
dedicated person to do that. And the DP, Bill Pope, um, just I guess it was the first time he was working with the Wachowskis,
Yep. It
and
was the first time they did anything,
it
actually.
was their
Yeah.
first movie, and
Yeah.
they were incredible. It was like
Do you
every
you know
time,
the story? Do you know the story? Sorry to interrupt. Do you know the story
yeah,
about how Bound became how Bound came about? The Wachowskis went to Joel Silver and a couple other
yeah,
people, I guess, with Matrix, and
right,
he apparently said, "This is unbelievable, but you've never done anything. You need to go
yeah,
and make something to prove that you can do
yeah,
this."
yeah.
And
I
so
think I
I
do
think
remember
they
that
wrote
now.
and made Bound, which, by the way, anybody who hasn't seen Bound, you should see Bound. It is
Yeah,
such an incredible movie.
yeah.
It's
You can
amazing, and Bill
literally
did
see
incredible work.
like as a punch goes, you can just almost see pow. They're
Yeah.
very comic booky
It's
about things.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, on every
yeah,
level. It's
yeah.
yeah.
At a certain point, so I had called the gaffer from that movie, Austin Goss, and he was doing a movie called Steal Big, Steal Little up in Santa Barbara. So
Mhm.
he said, come up and meet the camera department, which is Suzanne Trucks. We love Suzanne.
Nice.
I drive up to Santa Barbara, and there meet the camera department, and Suzanne says, I'm getting ready to start this movie, Nixon.
Oh,
And
wow.
I know Rick Sobin, the 8 camera second, was prepping at Panavision Tarzana
Okay.
that day.
This is the Oliver Stone movie,
Yeah,
Nixon?
yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Jeez.
Um, so I called Rick. I went to the payphone, put in my quarter, and called Rick Sobin, and he said, "Yes, I need help. Can you come now?" And I said, "Yes." So I got in the car in Santa Barbara, drove back to Tarzana, and went in. And I spent 2 weeks going in every single day. I was
Wow.
scrubbing cases
Uh-huh.
with a hot iron and the glue remover and all of that, cleaning all the cases, labeling all the cases. Back when we used to, they had print, you had to cut them out, you had to put tape, then you had to put JLAR, like
Yeah.
labeled everything. Gregor, the Tabner, the 8 camera first, he was very focused,
Yep.
very, very focused.
Great first AC, and now a great operator.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, yes. And I learned so much from Gregor, and I'm really glad that that was my first experience, just because it just really showed me what the stakes were for everything. But about one day before they were supposed to ship, the video waitress, we'll call her Marty, something like that, called, and her car had broken down in the Midwest and wasn't going to make it for the first week. So Gregor
Wow.
turns around. The first words Gregor says to me is, "Are you available next week?" And I said, "Yes, I am." "Okay, you're on. I got you covered." So my job for the first week is to be the video waitress for Oliver Stone.
When you say video
So,
waitress, what exactly does that mean?
well, it means you tool around the big Rubbermaid with the little cup
Oh,
holders, and you plug in the video. You make sure they put
gotcha.
the big floppies
Yeah.
all around it.
Okay.
Make sure his chair is there, and make sure he's got his coffee.
All of which is
So
extremely important, actually, but even though it
yeah,
doesn't sort of
so
sound
so
like it,
that's
but
what
it
I'm
is. Yeah.
doing. Now
Yeah.
he's a little bit of a pig. Um, and I have been interviewed for this. This has been made public in other arenas,
Okay.
but now being that I'm coming from California, from Kentucky, I'm still wearing I'm still kind of hippie like, right? I've got
Okay.
my tie dye shirt, my kind of baggy jeans with the ripped knees, but I'm not dressed in what I would say a particularly provocative way in any way, shape,
Okay.
or form. I'm
All right.
there, I'm
To do
working.
the work. Yeah.
Right. But he's kind of like a little smarmy. And I'm like, okay, ugh. But I'm just, keeping, because I know anybody who's worked with me over the years knows that like I'm game face on. I'm
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
professional.
Yep.
So at one point he's like, come here, I need you to adjust my monitor. Come over here. And he's like sitting right up on top of the monitor. So I like sort of tuck myself around the side
Yeah.
and reach around this way to do what he's wanting me to do to the monitor. And that man reaches around and picks me up right between my legs.
What?
And I spun around. I stuck my finger in his face. You're going to have to bleep. I don't give a fuck who you think you are. You do not touch me. You do not ever touch me again.
God bless
He
you.
bolts back in his chair and looks at me like I'm crazy. And again, I don't know who he is. He's just some man who accosted me. I don't know if he's some director,
Academy Award winner, whatever.
I don't know any of that. But I just know he just accosted me. So he sits back in his chair and he looks over at Bob Richardson and goes, "Bob, I like this one. Let's keep her."
Oh, God.
So the production manager comes over. Lenny, let's figure out a deal with her. She's staying. So Lenny's like, "Okay, well, what department do you want to be in?" I was like, "Camera." And so now the camera department had already been trying to get a PA in there. They couldn't get one. Now they have one, and it's not the person they want. So here I am. I have no idea, but so I'm just, the only thing they'll let me do is label the slates and carry batteries, and I have to carry, like, Bob. I remember he threw me his jacket and his bag, literally threw them at me on the first day and said, "Those are your responsibility." Okay, so this went on for a month. Meanwhile, Oliver continues anytime he sees me. Now I'm no longer his waitress, but anytime he sees me, it's like coming up and trying to poke me in the stomach, and I'm like, hands off. Like, we already went through this. We don't need to do this. So one night, his assistant, this big tall guy named Richard, came over to me and said, "Hey, you're going to come out with us tonight." And I was like, "I'm actually not, but thank you." He's like, "No, we're going to bring the limo. We're going to bring the limo around by the camera truck at night. And you come with us. It'll be so much." I was like, "Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. But thank you. That's very kind of you." So that at the end of that week was a Friday. And like Henry Turrell, be camera first, and Lukasz Bielin, be camera second.
Oh my gosh, these way back in the day before these guys were great operators. That's fantastic.
They were my buddies on that. And then Dave Emmerichs was a camera. Oh no, Dave Emmerichs was B camera, steady cam operator, and we just worked together. We just worked together for the first time since then. And it was so great. It was so great.
That's like an amazing group of people.
I know.
Good Lord.
Those three were on one camera together. And then the A camera team was very busy, but I was very insecure, and I thought, do they like me? Do they not like me? I felt like I was doing a good job, but I just didn't know. So that Friday night, everyone's gone, and they keep having me. The second is the only one left. He keeps having me do things until everyone's gone. And then once everyone is gone, he goes, "Cheli, I'm afraid today was your last day." And I was like, "What?" "Yeah, we kind of need someone with more experience." And I'm like, "I'm an intern." I'm like, "They're paying me $85 a day. What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And I was like, heartbroken. So that was just devastating. Yeah. I did find out years later, I got called to go in on Kill Bill to replace somebody for a few weeks. Mm-hmm. And I knew it was Gregor that was the A camera first. And I always thought it was him. Yeah. So now 7 years later, when I was on Nixon, I had long hair. Now I've got short hair. I look totally different. I'm a seasoned second AC, been doing it for 7-8 years. Yep. I come onto the camera truck. I spend the whole day working with Gregor. At the end of the day, he's like, "You're really good. Can you keep coming back?" And I was like, "That would be great." And I said, "You don't remember me?" And he goes, "No, I have we worked together?" And I showed him my ID, and he goes, "Oh, you're the one we had to fire because you wouldn't sleep with Oliver." And I was like, dang. But you know what? I was so excited, actually, because I thought it was because I wasn't doing a good job.
Yeah.
I thought it was because they didn't like me. And I was like, well, okay, if you're going to get fired.
Yeah. It's for not sleeping with Oliver Stone. That's a good reason to get fired. Yeah. Wow. That's an amazing story. Good Lord.
Yeah.
And the thing is, by the way, I'm sure they all felt horrible about it because I'm sure they weren't given any choice in it. Like, it's not like they could fight back against that kind of stuff with a person like that, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just, that's a terrible, oh, wow. Well, that's,
Yeah.
that is part of this business. Hopefully,
Yeah.
maybe it's
Yeah.
less than it used to be, or at
Yeah.
least it's pushed
Yeah.
down more than it used to be. But
Yeah.
hey there, podcast listeners. Sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted to do a little PSA shout out here. While the story you just heard hopefully is not something that's common, there are things that happen in this industry and in life that sometimes require us to step in when we see things. And so I'd just like to give a shout out to an organization called Right to Be. The website is right2be.org. This is an organization that teaches for free the art of bystander intervention, which is basically how to be a bystander, see something wrong, and step in and try to avert the problem in as simple a way as possible. I actually took the training through Local 600, where our then president, John Lindley, found out about it and offered it to all of 600, and it is now actually something that's being offered to all of IATSE and as part of their training. So bystander intervention training, I highly recommend it, and hopefully it's something you'll never have to use, but if something comes up, it's a good thing to have in your back pocket. Thanks so much.
Well, I think anything like that happens, you can either let it take you down, or you can either
Yeah,
or let it keep you going. But it was right after that I got offered, that my name came up to go and do Bound. and
fantastic.
and
Amazing.
then and I was like, sure, I'll take it. And Bill Pope is also the DP, was also from Kentucky. So
That's right. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
So you
he was
probably
like, oh, you're
connected
from
over that.
Kentucky,
Yeah.
yeah, come on in. So it was kismet.
You know what Bill told me? I interviewed him, and he told me, and I didn't know this. He said that, like, I guess his father owned some land in Appalachia or something like that. But there's some reason they would go into Appalachia, like deep into Appalachia. And he said that he used to have to interpret for his father the way people were speaking. And I was like,
Oh my
really? And he goes,
god,
oh
I
yeah,
never
it's a
knew that.
completely different language.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different language. And I
Yeah.
mean, Bill's so smart, so he knows all
Yeah.
the etymology
Yeah.
and he was telling me about it. And then I said, can you say something? And he kind of like started to speak, and it was English, but I couldn't
Yeah.
understand the words.
Yeah.
He's an amazing guy. So, like, but what a
Yeah.
great person to learn from, by the way, to go,
Yeah.
I mean, from a
Yeah.
bad situation to a great situation.
Yeah.
That's
It was.
fantastic.
It was really good. And I got to be the loader. Ended up getting to be the loader because the second AC didn't have a loader. And so I said,
Okay.
I know how to load. So
So how did you learn, where'd you learn how to load? I
well,
mean, did they,
I'd gone to, when I went to Atlanta, Dudley
okay.
Vall, who I don't know if he's still around. He was a first AC.
Yeah.
He was the B camera first on the movie in Kentucky. He met me at the rental house, brought out all the mags, and taught me how to load every mag.
Oh, and showed you. Oh, so that was before,
Yeah.
before the other movie. I got you.
Right,
Okay,
right.
great. So
So
yeah.
so I just went and I was like, I know how to load. And I had been watching Suzanne. Suzanne was an incredible assistant. She was just so much fun. I really learned a lot from Suzanne too. Also how to bring the funny. Bring the funny, because you're going to stand next to someone for 12, 14 hours a day. Bring some funny with you. People are going to like being around you. I mean, that was my biggest thing from Suzanne. Was like, she was incredibly good at her job, but she was also really fun to be around. So I remember looking at her darkroom, watching her a lot and learning from her. So I was like, I know how to load. So he would let me load, but I just had to be there to press the
Oh, that's right,
combo
because you were
8.
doing video playback. Yeah.
So as long as I had to learn quickly about time management, but that ended up going well. And then I ended up working with Bill on and off throughout the years until most recently on Unfrosted. And
Unfrosted, sure.
yeah,
He's
um,
I absolutely, I have such a special place in my heart for Bill, because
me too.
he's not an easy person to work with,
No, no,
but because he's demanding, but he's a
yes,
lovely person. And
yeah,
actually, I shouldn't say that. He's a great person to work with. He's
yeah,
just very demanding, and he wants what he
yeah,
wants, and that actually makes it fun. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
well, fun maybe not
I
the
always
word, but
call him my camera dad. He's my
I can
camera
totally
dad
see that.
because he
He
was
you,
like, the first person that was like, okay, come on.
He's great. He sees a movie in the theater every single week.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Every week he goes to a movie, and I said to him, really? And he said, look, I love movies, and I don't want to
Hmm.
forget why. I don't want to watch them on. And he said, and the other thing is, if we want movies to be in movie theaters, we should be going to movie theaters. And I was like,
That's
you know
right.
what? So
That's
actually, we were
right.
in Chicago, and I took him to the Music Box Theater, and we saw a brand new print of The Searchers in 70 millimeter. and it was so
Oh,
much fun because he knows so much history about, he's a complete cinephile. But
yeah.
I want to just step back for a second and just
Mhm.
make a point of something that you said, because I think it's so important for people who are starting out in this business, or are already in this business, whatever, in their journey, I guess is the right word, is, that story about Oliver Stone getting fired
Yeah.
and whatever. You sort of said something. I mean, you made a point of it, but I think it's worth bringing back out. Is you can let, like, hopefully that's never going to happen to other people, but
Yeah.
bad things happen to people, and
Yeah.
it can be a really crappy industry where you get
Yeah.
beat down. I mean, we've
Yeah.
all been there on some level.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is you can decide if it's going to take you down, or if you're going to learn from it, or
Yeah.
grab something from it, or not let it get to you and move on.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
that's like real power right there, is deciding, I'm gonna rise above this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
yeah,
that's the difference between making it and not making it is, am I going to let this get me down? I mean, I've seen
that's
it both
exactly right.
ways. I've seen it both ways. I've seen it where, oh well, this didn't happen, so that's it, and I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. Is
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
and that's just. I mean, that's a mindset. That's a
yeah,
mindset. You either you're going to push through it or you're not. And
absolutely.
there's been we've all had our moments of getting fired, and
Yep.
I have. That's not the only time I was fired. Another two other times in my career, and both times were really hard in their different ways.
Sure.
One was because someone really high profile became available, and the A camera first really wanted to work with that person because he wanted to work with that person's DP, and
Oh,
so
lovely.
some they fabricated a way to get me out, and they did it. And
Yeah.
I was too green of a first AC to know how to protect myself,
Oh,
and
so
they
you were
took
like a first
advantage of
AC
that.
on B camera or something like that, or C
It
camera or
was
something?
it was a it was a first AC I worked with for a really long time, and who was like giving me the opportunity
I
after I
gotcha.
had
Yeah.
just filled in on another job for him.
Yeah.
But you know,
But
it's
just
another is that this business can be cutthroat as well.
oh yeah, but let me ask you a question. That happens to you. You get the rug pulled out underneath you. I
Hmm.
mean, what? How do you get past it? How do you not
Ah,
let it take you down? I guess is the right word. Or is, I mean,
you just say next,
yeah.
next,
Yep.
next. It's
I
something I
you know,
learned early on in a whole different business that I used to do with my dad. It was this network marketing business, um, and what they said is every no is one step closer to the yes,
nice.
and so it was like, okay, this didn't work. Okay, it's time
Yeah.
to move on. Like you just got to
Yeah.
keep going because it's not an option to not keep going.
Absolutely. Well, and I think one of the things that I also, as we're talking about this, I realize, I've talked to so many people. I mean, I've done well over 100 of these podcasts now, which kind of blows my mind. I have way too much time on my hands, and so someone needs to hire me. But is that this happens to every single person out there that I've talked to, and
Yeah,
they're all like yourself, very, very successful and have done well. And it's not. I think knowing that this isn't just me, that this happens to everybody helps.
yeah,
And
yeah,
going, all right,
yeah,
this wasn't the one, and you move
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Well, I want to move on to something. Well, first, before I
Hmm.
move on to the next thing I want to ask you about is you worked on Bulworth, right?
Yes, yeah,
And that was kind of cool because Garrett Brown and his son Jonathan Brown were the camera
hmm,
operators and doing sort of
yeah,
co-steady cam. Do you have any good, like?
yeah,
Was it the first time you'd ever met Garrett?
yeah, yeah. And it was his
Was the
last movie.
Yeah, was it actually, or like, did he know it at the
Well,
time? Like, was
he
it
did
stated
because
as okay?
he had the funny story is that he said, he did not want to say no to
Yeah,
Vittorio Storaro,
yeah, yeah.
but it was like, oh, I want to be done. And so he gave them like a crazy rate, and they still gave it to him.
Thinking they
So he
won't do
had,
it. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
so they gave it to him. So he had to do
Oh,
it.
it's the worst when they actually come back and say yes. But
Yeah,
it's such
yeah.
an amazing. What was working with Vittorio Storaro like? I don't know a lot of people who have worked with him other than Garrett.
I think I was so young and naive at that time that I was just
Yeah.
again, I didn't know. I had heard about him,
Oh, I keep forgetting that. Like he's like another
yeah,
guy.
I had
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
about him, and I just knew, like, when he he said, what is your name? And I said, Shelley. And he's like, what is Shelley? And I said, what's short for Michelle? And he goes, oh, Michelle, this is the name. I call you
yeah.
Michelle. So he would
Nice.
not call me, and he would not call me Shelley. He would only call me Michelle.
That's great.
But yeah, it was. I remember. Oh God, I remember there was this one scene. It was two. It was the dancing scene in the bar. It was this little dive bar on Hollywood Boulevard,
Uh-huh.
and we were the airy threes with the long throat mags.
Yep,
It
yep,
was,
sure.
yeah. So those are bitch to load.
They're a pain in the ass to
And
load. Yep.
they didn't stop cutting. So the two steady cams would be going, and then when one would run out of film, it would go out and the other one would come in. And so it
Oh,
just didn't stop.
jeez.
So
So you're
I
just
was
in the
like,
bag constantly.
well,
Oh,
we
or
had
the
a truck,
dark
but I
room.
was
Yeah.
running. My
Oh.
hands were flying. And there was another day we had 3 steady cams, and it was the Nicola Piccarini, I think is
Nicola
his name.
Piccarini, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came in,
Yeah.
he was the 3rd one, and that was like a big speech. But I remember it was in a big um, ballroom, and there
Oh,
was
I think I remember that. Yeah,
yeah,
he's like addressing the crowd, and I forget what he says, but there's something that he
yeah,
says that sort of takes
yeah,
everybody by surprise. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
That's
yeah, so
that.
that was another day where it was like fingers were flying, fingers were
Oh
flying.
my
I did
gosh, I
have
can't even.
one lesson on Steadicam from Garrett,
Oh, how
and
cool!
but that was, and it was great because I'm also tall, so he didn't have to adjust it too much for me.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Went up and down the hall, and he's like, "I'll make you the next Liz Ziegler." And as I put it back, I felt kind of a little pop in my knee. It wasn't
Ooh,
a But I had had knee surgery a few years previous, and I was just like, there was something that told me this might not be good for my body.
I'm not. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Well, that's
I
smart.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
So I didn't.
Uh,
Yeah.
the next thing I want to ask you about is Daddy Daycare, because you worked with my very good friend Norman Parker and Stephen
Norman
Poster, and
Parker.
so
Yeah, it's
I
so
know for a
funny.
fact that you have amazing stories, because Norman is one of the funniest, most incredible people in this business.
Norman
Let
is
me ask
so
you this
much
first
fun.
question for anybody who knows Norman. Ever seen him without a baseball hat or his
Never,
glasses?
never.
We have this joke that Norman has a baseball hat that has the hair connected to it, that's
Yep.
connected to the glasses, and every day he puts it
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. Norman
um,
was so much fun. No,
he's the
so much
best.
fun. I just remember Larissa. He's the
Larissa
only
was on
person.
it.
Yeah, Larissa. And he would call Robin Bursey. That's where I met Robin Bursey, who I work with a
Uh-huh.
lot. Um,
Yep.
he would call her Sparrow because her name was Robin,
Okay.
and he would say, "Sparrow, bring me a Perry B, not a Perrier, a Perry B." So he just always had he was just a
He is
funny guy, funny
he is
guy.
an interesting guy. He told me that that it was a very interesting show all over the place, and that there
Yeah,
was. I think he told me at one point that there was even like a built-in line item that was just for the time that they would kind of sit around because Eddie
Eddie
Murphy
time,
was not there, and Eddie
Eddie
time.
time.
That's right.
Yeah,
And they just knew that was built into the budget. Is there was a
yeah,
certain amount of time you wouldn't shoot, and
yeah. The electricians, and actually I'm just working with one of them who actually made this. It's his name is Dan Jones, I think is his last name. He made he put out a publication each week called Tough Guy Times, or
tough guy
Tough Guy
times.
Times. And it was anytime, and there would be a section in it called Eddie Time, so things that would be done. And I was featured one week in Eddie Time, where I was
That's
vacuuming out
awesome.
my cart. I was vacuuming the cart.
Do you have a copy of this?
Oh no, I don't think I have it anywhere, but
I'm going to see
somebody
if I can
does.
find it. You know what's really funny is I've found out more recently, and it just happenstance. There are a couple of these shows where people put out like
Hmm.
honest to goodness weekly
Yeah,
newsletters, like long
yeah,
before computers were a thing, and everything. I
yeah,
think that's
yeah,
hysterical. It shows how bizarre we all are, how much
yeah,
time we have on
yeah,
our hands.
yeah.
That's
You know who
great.
was in that? One of the little girls, and we just knew Elle Fanning.
No way.
She was 4 years old and was vamping in front of that camera. She was so stinking cute. We
And
just
you could
knew.
tell she was gonna be someone.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Which, I mean, her sister was Dakota, so you knew
it's a
already.
family and a legacy and everything. That's great.
Mhm.
So how long how what when did you start second ACing and how long did you second AC before you jumped to firsting?
So I would say I kinda always thought first AC was the job because I always
Uh-huh.
thought camera operating and DP, like, you needed to go to school for that. And I didn't, and I also didn't had never picked up a camera before, so framing and lighting and all of that just never seemed like something that I would, I just thought people had to go to school for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, first AC job, that one I could see doing. So, within the first year that I was here, I got a call from the same family that referred me for Bound. It was a sound mixer and production coordinator team
Oh, wow.
couple.
Yeah.
She was doing a short. Her name was Livia Perez Barrero. Flip Barrero's wife. Flip was the
Oh,
one.
Flip. I know Flip.
Yeah.
They live in
And we
Portugal now,
call,
I think, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
always call him Felipe, but
sure.
Felipe
Yeah.
is very good friends with my husband, but they've known each other from New York. And
Oh, I
so,
think I knew this actually. I think we talked about this. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He
So they
did he
came,
did the last season of Ozark, so I met him there.
yes, yes. So
Yeah.
my husband, Yanni, uh, said to Felipe, Shelly's available. You should hire her. You should have her refer her for Bound. And that's how that happened.
Nice. Yeah.
Would I do it as a first AC for free? And I was like, I've never done it before. And she's like, that's exactly what we need because we don't have any money. So can
There
you
you
come do
go.
it? And
You
it was
cost the
5
right amount.
different cameras with different film stocks. It was something different each thing.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, oh. And so at the time I was seconding for first AC, Bonnie Blake,
Oh, Bonnie Blake,
who's
who's
also
about to get
from,
who's about
yes,
to get the
yes.
Lifetime Achievement Award,
I
which is
know I'm
she's
gonna
well
sit at her
deserved.
table. I'm so
Oh,
excited.
that's great.
She and I are from the same town. Uh, we went to the same elementary, middle, and high school, grew up a few streets apart, and we met here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she's
she's
fantastic. Oh,
my kids think she's their auntie.
oh,
Um,
that's so sweet.
yeah. So she was anyway, I was seconding for her and it's a first AZ, but she was really wanting to operate. And she was kind of starting to put it out there that she wanted to operate. So I asked Livia, I said, do you have an operator on the job? And she said, no, we can't afford one. I said, what if we can bring someone for free? So I said to Bonnie, you want to come and be the operator? So when I have questions, you can
Yeah,
tell me what
right?
to do. So she's like, yeah,
Smart.
that'll be fun. So like, I'd be like, what should I do here? She goes, okay, run the tape measure out and put a mark here and da da da. And
Oh,
okay,
that's
now I'm going to do my
great.
job. So we did this whole thing. It was really fun, really fun.
So
But
great.
that was a year in. And then
Yeah.
once I started working, I loaded for several movies, and then but it turned into like day playing a seconding, and
Yeah.
that sort of happening. And then I met John Scott, and he started hiring me as his second. Like
Uh-huh.
he liked to
Okay.
have one person. His second, Rob, had moved to San Diego, so he started hiring
Yep.
me.
Yeah.
And they would bring out a second camera frequently, but Chris, the DP, would jump over and operate it, so they just have me pull focus on it. So I
Is this
started,
Chris Baffa?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, so I spent about 7 years working with them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they
Oh,
would,
yeah.
yeah,
Got
and
that. Yeah.
I would pull focus. I started pulling focus very early on, and
Gotcha.
then John and I did just a couple television shows together early on, and
Uh-huh.
he was at the time he had very young children,
Yeah.
and so he would get to work late and leave at wrap because, and at the time I remember being a little bitter about it, but
Yeah.
as I got, as time went on and I had my own kids, I realized that
Oh,
I
I get
needed
it.
somebody like me too that could just step
Yep.
in and build everything and do all the rehearsals, and then he would just walk in and he would see the marks all laid and he would just go.
Yep. Yep.
And I realized it was very valuable, all of that.
Sure.
Even though I was frustrated that they wouldn't move me up in the end, and it didn't end well because I was so frustrated by that. But I
Yeah.
learned, I by the time I officially moved up, I would say 9 years as a second before I officially stopped seconding.
Oh, okay.
But I had spent 7 years pulling focus on B camera.
Yeah, yeah.
or
You've been sort of practicing moving
yeah.
up all
So
that
by
time.
the time
But
I actually went out, I was very comfortable. I wasn't afraid.
sure. And you said something interesting. You said before I officially stopped seconding.
Mhm.
Was there a moment where you said I have to basically like sort of like burn the ships and go, I'm no longer seconding. I'm
Yes,
not doing,
yes,
like you have to
yes,
like,
yes.
make the
So
claim.
yes, so I was working with. I'd left Chris and John. I was working with Greg Lunsell and Bill Pope. We reconnected on with Team America. I got
Hmm.
called in to replace the second was moving. Their second was moving up, so I got called in to remove him. Sean Moe. Sean Moe moved up. I got called in
Great
to
Sean
replace
Mo.
him, and Sean did
Yep.
was the first of the B camera first, I think, for the rest of it, and I was
Okay.
the second for the rest of it.
Gotcha.
So reconnected with Bill and Greg was there. And so I was working with them doing commercials after Team America was over. And Greg had another DP he needed to go do a few jobs with. So I just figured, oh, well, I'll just do that. Well, then I get a call from Bill one day. He says, Shelly, I need a first AC for these next 2, 3 jobs. And I was like, okay. So I remember pulling over and getting out my Rolodex, my phone book, and going, okay, I'm getting some names. He goes, Shelly, I'm
Okay.
calling you.
That's so great.
And I was like, oh, because Chris and John wouldn't move me up, and I'd been doing it for them for 7 years. I'd been working with
Yeah.
Bill for 6
Yeah.
months, and he's ready
So
to go. No, you're the first AC.
that's
Oh,
because Bill Pope is a smart guy and he sees things in people. That's great. I
yeah.
love that.
So
Oh,
so
that's
I did
fantastic.
so I did the jobs with him, but then Greg came back.
Yep.
And then Greg was, and we did one more job together. And Greg, literally at the end of the job, he literally does this thing with his foot kicking. He goes, kicking you to the curb. You're a first AC now. Bye.
Good. Look, also, if you're doing a bunch of jobs with Bill Pope as a first AC and you're pulling it
Yeah.
off, you can do the work. Yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't suffer fools.
So I
Yeah.
had to do it, but I also didn't have anybody yet. So then I I remember I was also working with Gregor Tavner and Bob Richardson doing commercials at that time. I did another job with them, and the same thing where there was times where Gregor would leave for
Yeah.
periods, and I would just jump in,
Sure.
um, but then Gregor moved to New York, and it was like that wasn't happening anymore. And then out of the blue, I get a call from Jay Levy to go do something with Stephen Poster.
Ah,
And this goes back to the daddy daycare thing. So
yeah.
I go in and I do one. We did a pilot together, and Jay and I just got on so well. I really liked Jay, but I
Oh, that's
told him I was
great.
really, really ready to move up to be a first AC. So that's when they were starting this next movie called Southland Tales. And I remember Steven came to Panavision one day, and we all went to lunch. And I remember getting in the car and looking at Steven and saying, Steven, I'm ready to be a first AC. If this turns into 2 cameras, I really would like to be
Yeah.
considered to be the B camera first.
Good
And
for
he
you.
was
That's
like,
great.
okay, I'll keep it in mind.
That's
So
great.
we all went out to lunch, and I think like in the next day or two, he says, okay, we're adding a second camera. And he says, who's going to be our second? And at that time, Jamie Stevens had been doing things with me. So I said, you should hire Jamie Stevens. So they said, okay. And I literally handed the tape roll, the reins, I was like, done. And never was like, no, never again. And I did that
That's
first
cool.
movie, and it went
Uh-huh.
very well. And then the next movie that came to me was a John Bailey movie. And the only
Oh,
reason it
wow.
came to me is because it was this movie he ended up taking his name off of because
Oh,
so I won't even say the name of it.
yeah. Okay.
But he took his name off of it because there were so many things he didn't like about it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
they were not paying tech rate, and it was anamorphic.
Yeah.
And so nobody was doing it, everyone was turning it down. And somehow they got down to my name on the list. And I was like, heck yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, do anything right now because I needed the job. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
anamorphic, and we didn't have any cinetapes or anything because this was just
Oh,
not what
boy.
they did. And I was with Steadicam, and it went really well. And so on
Wow.
that movie, John had another movie coming up in 3 months. So they said, "Do you wanna do this with us?" And I said, "Yes." And that was
Great.
and on this movie, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter,
Uh-huh.
and so I didn't say anything. But when I showed
Huh.
up 6 months pregnant on this movie, John was a little uncomfortable. So I
Oh,
was like,
jeez.
everything's fine. So I worked
I
all
could
the
do the
way
job.
through. Yeah, I worked all the
Yeah.
way through. So by the time my daughter was born, it was a solid year, 3 movies under my belt as a first AC.
You'd done the work. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
and so
so
then
you were
when
feeling it.
after I had my daughter, I realized I didn't wanna do anything long term for a while, but I
Uh-huh.
still needed to be able to pay the bills. So I started only day playing and doing commercials. And so I
Hmm.
literally called every first AC and every second AC and every operator I knew and said, "This is what I'm doing. I'm day playing. You probably got the call. I'm day playing. Oh, I don't want your job. I don't want your B camera full-time job. I want your extra C camera job. I want your extra
Yep.
whatever extra you have. If you need to take a day off, I'm your person. I want
Yep.
to be able to go to my kids' doctor's appointments. I want to be able to do all of that stuff so I can't have anything full term." And I found myself swirling around this town everywhere. But
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
needed a day off, I could just say I'm not available. I didn't have
I'm
to
not
worry about.
available. That's so great.
And so I did
So
that for
great.
like 8 years. And
Yeah.
in the course
Yeah.
of that, I got to do Jersey Boys because Clint Eastwood only does single camera all the
Uh-huh.
time. But Jersey
Okay.
Boys was a musical.
Yeah.
And so they needed a second camera. He wanted the same people all the time, but they only wanted it like 3 days a week. So I was
Yeah. So
like,
it's perfect. Oh,
sign
that's
me
great.
up.
See?
So I did that. So it was like things that I feel like by kind of sticking to like what I wanted, the plan
Yep.
that I wanted,
Yeah.
it sort of
I
came.
also bet that there, because it's funny, because now that I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's most of our career together, is like you would come into something and then you go away and then you'd come back and I'd see you here and there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who actually, when they needed to call someone, were like, you know what, I appreciate the fact that Shelley is doing what she's doing, and I want to make sure that she's kept busy. I bet that worked in your favor on some level, because I
Yeah,
think
I
there are a
think
lot of people who have families who go, I think that's great, and I want to support that. So,
yeah. There was
um,
one job I did with Mary Funston where she and I shared the B camera job.
oh
And
wow,
they let us we had to pitch it. We had to pitch it because she and I were both they were calling both of us for a B
yep,
camera,
yep,
but they weren't it was almost like we were in competition.
hmm,
And so I was like, "Why don't we just share this
we
job?"
just share. That's
Because
great,
we both
and
she had just had a baby, I was had my second. And so
yep.
they said we pitched it and they said, "Okay, you guys figure it out as long as one of you's here."
That's fantastic.
And
I
so
I
we
did a
did.
show called I did a show called Happyish when I was in Connecticut. It was in New
Mhm.
York, and they really wanted me to do it. And I said, "Look, my kids are at a certain point. I don't want to be gone that long." And so we ended up working it out where Mark Caraviti and I
Mhm.
went every other episode. And
Mhm.
the way I pitched it to him, I said, "Look, you're going to get a brand new fresh operator every
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
It's Steadicam, so I'm still making an okay amount of money, and da da
Yeah.
da." And it was so great. And I've never been able to. It's never happened again. But it was
Yeah.
so great because
Yeah.
both of us, he had kids too, and we are both like, "Yeah, well, I don't want a full job. I want to come and go." And it
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
I want to back up and ask you a couple. You told me about a movie called Iron Jawed Angels and
Yeah.
said that it was
Yeah.
it was. Tell me about that.
So it was a great movie. Robbie Greenberg shot it, and I love
Oh,
Robbie. He's wonderful.
great cinematographer. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, so talented, so kind. Um, just, easygoing, but just really good, really good. I really enjoyed working with him. Um, I had done some day playing with Jay on some things with him. Uh, or was it with Jay? I can't remember. I can't remember the timeline there. But I had heard about this movie, and because it was about the women fighting for the right to vote.
Hmm.
And it was going to be in Virginia, and it was while I was on daddy daycare, and they were not going to carry me. I was the B camera second onto the stage when they went to stage for daddy daycare, and this was
Okay.
starting right around that same time. So I can't even remember now what I sent a message to Robbie. I sent a message to the production. I sent a message. I just put every feeler out that I could because I wanted to work on that movie.
Just
And
because of what the story was, you're
yeah,
saying, or
yeah,
because, yeah, okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. I
Yeah,
was just like, I want to work on that. I want to work on
yeah.
that. And because I think I told you I worked on If These Walls Could Talk years ago, and it was a movie about abortion and how when you're working on something that really matters, um, it just it heightens the experience so much more.
Yeah.
It just makes it feel that much more, not just a job. You're more involved in it. You feel like just more a part of something. And this
Hmm.
seemed and felt really important. So literally, I don't even know how she got my name. The Kathina was her name. The B camera first called me and said, "Hey, I've lost my second. We're starting shooting on Monday. Can you fly out tomorrow?" And this was like a Thursday. And I remember like sending all my gear the next day, literally within 24 hours, getting on a plane and then going to Virginia for 10 weeks. And, being on the streets when all these women are marching and,
Mm,
just, it was just an incredibly moving experience. And
that's great.
I have a video. I remember I got my first digital camera on that job. And so I've got very old pixelated pictures and video on the old pixelate that looks it feels old time, it feels like
Yeah.
from that time.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
That's
beautiful. It
That's really
was,
cool. And I think you're right because if you work on something which doesn't happen that often, unfortunately, that
yeah.
you actually are sort of like, no, this is an important story. I think you just want to do
Yeah.
your job that much better, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
then because you mentioned it on a totally different level, Team America World Police.
That was a lot of fun. That was just fun every
How
single
could it not
day.
be? I
Oh
mean,
my
I
God.
interviewed Henry Klein and he said it was just like it
Yeah.
was insanity because he said there was
Yeah.
one day where there were like 5 techno cranes on one
Yeah.
stage and
Yeah. Yeah.
just it
Yeah.
sounds wild.
Yeah.
But
Because there
it,
were so many different sets because there were
yeah.
different sizes. There was
Mhm.
miniatures, there was big, so you had different countries, and like it would be just like one area of the set which would look like, just a huge dining room table, but like
Yeah,
multiply a dining room table times about, 10. And
with
then
a
you've
bunch of
got
people
like
underneath,
and then
right?
you've got like the pyramids, in
Uh-huh.
Egypt or
Yep.
on that table. I remember I had one of those twist phones at the time, and I said it was my first selfies when I twisted it around. It looked like I was in Egypt. I thought it was very funny.
There you
But
go.
uh, Trey, Trey and Matt, the
Yeah,
two,
yeah,
Trey would sit at the microphone at Video Village while
yeah.
whatever's going on, and he would say the dialogue, and
It
it
was
was
off
not at
script.
all what
Yeah,
we ended
yeah.
up with.
And, this is
I
what I was gonna ask, are you just screaming with laughter the
Oh
entire
yeah.
time?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Laughing. And what was funny is, and from a focus puller perspective, I was a second AC on that, but from the
Yeah.
focus puller perspective, Greg Lunsell used to get the biggest kick out of telling people when we'd have day players coming in, "Oh, don't worry, the longest lens is the 50." But when you're on miniatures,
It's meaningless.
and he would just sit back and cackle and watch the first AC sweat as they were like,
That's what Henry said. There were people who would come in and be like, "I can't do this," because one of the things that he was
yeah,
saying, he pointed out was like, eh, with a person, there's a tell to when they're gonna lean forward or something like
yeah,
that, and with a puppet, there's not it just
no,
happens.
yeah. Well, and then the dolly track, like this is the first time I saw sliders on the floor used as dolly track. That was our dolly track.
Oh.
And then
Oh,
we were
interesting.
either on the O'Connor or the O'Connor 100, depending on
Because
what
you had to get
size the
down so
actors
low.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then the dolly in was just, pushing in. So
Yeah.
a close up on a 50, you're in minimum focus the whole time. They were close focus lenses. So it was
Oh my god.
really, really hard for them. And
That sounds like it.
yes. And so, I did not feel bad.
But yeah,
Um,
yeah. You're
but
happy you weren't a focus
yeah,
puller on
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Greg Lunsell was also someone I learned a lot from. Even though he
Yeah.
was also really hard to work for a lot of people.
Mhm.
I learned a lot from him because he was also very, regimented. And I remember the one thing I would say I learned from Greg, two things actually. One was, if I remember him saying to one of the assistants who brought a flashlight, and they said, "Hey, can you bring me a battery?" And he looked at him and says, "If you don't have the tools, don't take the call." And then the other thing was, they had some scratched mags, some scratched
Ooh.
film, and this was right when I came in, and was switching over, and I can't remember. I don't know what the circumstances were, but something had scratched, And so there was at one point where someone needed to climb the ladder and reload the camera. And so I was like, oh, I can do that. And he goes, no, I'm going to do that. And he was like, I don't care that you can. It's my responsibility. And I'm these are I'm the one who shoulders this.
I
I
gotcha.
am the
The
one
buck
with the
stops
big
here,
shoulders.
sort of.
So
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah.
load this one. And I was like, okay,
You're saying because of the ladder or because of the scratches? You're saying
because
I
of the
don't want there to be a
scratches.
scratch, and then
No,
people
because
say
of the
it's your yeah
scratches. And
yeah
because
yeah.
the scratching had been happening, he was going to make sure he was the one that
If I
was
do
loading
it
it.
and there's a problem, at least it's me and
Yeah,
it's
he's
not you.
like,
Yeah,
these are
no,
it's on my shoulders. And so
that's respect. That's
yeah, and
yeah
I appreciated that because it's not because he didn't think I could do it. Because that's why I was like,
yeah
oh, you don't think I can do it? And he's like, I know
yeah
you can do it. My
yeah
shoulders. And so
hmm,
that I thought that was a very big lesson
yeah.
from
Oh,
him.
that's great.
Yeah, yeah,
Jumping forward to modern times, I want to ask you about Joker Folie Deux, because it
yeah,
seems
ugh,
like probably a really boring, straightforward, like, just cookie cutter show, right?
oh my god, yeah, yeah. No,
I
that
mean, the
one,
things that I've heard from talking to you and other people was like no rehearsals, everything was off the
yeah,
cuff, just
yeah,
finding it as you go. I
yeah,
mean, which seems like
yeah.
both a dream and a nightmare on many levels. But
It,
what was
yeah,
that
yeah.
like?
No, it was. First of all, the dream of it was, just getting to work with like across the board a top notch crew. Like every
Yeah,
person on the crew was top notch.
yeah,
Like just so professional, so good, so friendly. Larry is incredibly passionate. Larry Sher, the DP,
yeah,
incredibly passionate about what he does, and he
yeah.
gets very, focused. And we're on headsets, so that can get crazy because he's
Uh huh.
talking to so many people,
Sure.
and I'm on his camera, so I have to hear everything. I can't turn him down. So
Yeah.
it was a lot keeping that like all
Oh, because
together.
he's also talking to the gaffer and the key grip and the this and
Well,
that and the other on the same channel. Yeah.
when we're shooting, he's
Yeah.
talking to the crane operator, the
Yep.
head,
Yep.
so the dolly grip, the pickle,
Sure.
the operator, and
Yeah.
me about what he's doing. Okay, push in, and push in, push, keep going,
Because
keep going.
you're constantly
It's
creating it. So
as he
yeah,
would
you
say,
have to be.
game day decisions, game day decisions.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
didn't
And
make the game day decision that he saw in his head, oh, he was mad about it in the
oh
moment.
boy.
But you
Oh
also maybe
boy.
made a different decision. And he did there was one time where I made a game day decision
Yeah.
and I just went with what felt was the right thing. And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
kind of yelled at me about it in the moment. And then I was like, okay, I see your point. I said, this is why I did it. And he was like, huh,
Sure.
I'm going to watch the dailies and I'll let you know. And he actually reached out to me over the weekend. He said, I watched it and you were right. And
Oh, that's great.
thank you for going with
Boy,
it. And it was
that's
really great.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So,
I have to, I was going to say in his defense, but it's not in his defense. It's
mhm,
just something worth noting, and I'll ask you, am I correct? I have to assume on a show like that where everybody's embracing we're going to make it on the fly, but it
mhm,
still has to look purposeful and it still has to
mhm,
be in focus, and you still
mhm.
have to commit and all that other stuff. And you have someone like Joaquin Phoenix who's giving, I'm sure, every single moment an incredible
Yeah.
performance to watch.
Yeah.
There's no way to assure that it's going to work, but it's got to
Right.
be frustrating when you're the person who drops the ball because you didn't make the same decision as
Yeah.
this person
Yeah.
or whatever. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
the stress must be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Maybe in a good way, but maybe in a bad way too.
Yeah. Well, I would spend every day. So luckily it was 10-hour days. Every day was a 10-hour day. So
Nice. Oh,
that was really
you
great.
can't make a good
Um,
movie on 10 hours a day.
I
Come on.
know we did it. We did it.
Oh,
And it was
so
very
great.
scheduled. It was very, our first AD was great. It was all really, really
Yeah.
good. David Webb, he was fantastic. But I would just like, lock in every time. And I used every tool in the toolbox. I changed
You
rings
have to, right?
constantly. I was
Yeah.
like, every shot was like, okay, which lens and how close, and because you never knew, we were probably always going to go into minimum focus. That's always what he did. But is there going to be a rack? Because if there's a rack, I might need a different ring. And so I would like,
Oh, jeez.
like really, it was like, and sometimes in the middle of the shot, changing things out, and but it was just fully being focused. And there were some days where I would go to the car at the end of the day and I would just sit and my whole body would just be vibrating because it's like when you meditate, you're so focused on nothing that your body vibrates. So it was like the
Yeah, yeah.
opposite of that, where I was just so focused that I would just sit there. I would just sit for sometimes 15 minutes in the car before I felt like I could drive. I'd
Just
just be
just
like,
because you gotta, like, settle down and
yeah. Well, just
defocus or whatever,
right, right.
yeah.
And I was very calm. That's the one thing
Uh-huh.
is I was very, very calm, even though inside I was like focused.
I can't imagine you not being calm, just to let you know that. I don't know how you I can't it doesn't seem like something that would ever happen, but I'm sure it must. So do you think as a focus puller, that's the hardest job you've ever done?
Yes. Yes. I think, well, I would say lead
Technically, I mean,
technically, yeah.
yeah.
Legion was also up there with being very challenging. And
Mhm.
then there's a commercial director of photography I work with that is also very challenging. Jean Vienne, who does beautiful, beautiful tabletop, but
Mhm.
she's like on the end of a straight shooter floating on a macro lens,
Going through
wide
space.
open,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
just
geez.
floating
Good
around. You know,
lord.
I remember we did
Yeah.
a like a romancing the avocado one time. That's always our fun shot. But I feel like I've told her this. I feel like that prepared me for Joker
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh,
because
wow.
it
But
just that floating nature of just being like really locked
yeah.
in.
So when you're I'm assuming that Larry's almost always on some sort of remote head or whatever. He's on
Yeah,
the wheels, so because yeah,
yeah,
and because he can't be in there next to Joaquin talking on the
right,
thing, and if nothing
right,
else.
right. And he
And
loves
so
his
when
techno
you're
crane.
yeah, yeah, and you can sort of you could tell when you watch the movie that a
Hmm.
lot of it's technocrane, obviously.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
when you're doing when you're focusing on that, I mean, first of all, the concentration must just be I can't even imagine how much you might have to
yeah,
become.
yeah.
But are you able to watch the story and sort of pull focus off the story, or are you just sort of constantly trying to figure out where he is and where he's going? I mean, how
No,
much
you
plays
you
into that?
do you do you have to because what's interesting is that so we were just so often going right into his face, so I was in his eyes
Sure.
the whole time. And like
Yeah.
if I started to see sharp eyelashes, I'd be like, "Oh God, no, good, go
Yeah.
back." You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
eyelash. You know, it was like watching the focus go from his nose. You know, like it was like watching it back and
Yeah.
forth. But so you're very much in his eyes. And what's funny is he would start because when we were getting like right up into his face, I would come into the room like, I would be
Okay.
as close as I could just so I could see. And I started watching, he started to know. He would say he would look, which lens is it? And then as he started to see the camera get in minimum focus, he would just start backing up slowly.
Because he knew what you were dealing with,
Yeah,
basically.
he knew we were just gonna keep coming, and he
Yep.
knew Larry wanted to keep moving.
I see, to help that. Oh,
He
understood.
knew Larry
Yes.
wanted to keep moving.
Oh,
So
isn't
he
that
wouldn't
amazing?
just
So he
stop and let the
adjusted.
camera stop. As soon as he saw the
Yeah.
camera stop, he would just start moving. And so then
But
I
then
would
if
move
you're in
with
the
him.
room, you can realize that
Right.
he's doing that.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
Right. But that's also
fascinating.
where well, at that close, sometimes the light ranger doesn't work, but the light ranger with the bars, you can see the
Yeah.
bars starting to move. So
Yeah.
oh, we're moving, but or
Yeah,
having
yeah.
any sort of device if you can't get into the room, which a lot of times we couldn't
Yes.
get into the
Yeah.
room. But at least I could but I started watching and I was like, wow, look, he's so intuitive. Like he could just feel like the camera's not moving. I need to move. I need to do
How
something, you
great.
know.
How wonderful.
So it
And
was
that was going to ask you about that is working with someone like Joaquin, who's known for being a method actor, and
mhm.
also I would imagine in this case being a method actor playing someone like Joker, which is maybe even
Yeah.
like more so than, but he's still able to work. I mean, you're still able to work with him on a technical
Yes.
level. He understands
Yeah.
that you have a job to do. That's
Oh
really
yeah.
wonderful.
In
Yeah.
fact, there was one of those days where the shot was not going as the director wanted, and it was between me and the director, and he wanted me to do this rack, and for me it didn't feel right, so that's why it wasn't
Hmm.
happening.
Yep.
And in the movie they didn't use it. Just saying.
Yay.
But there was this rack that it didn't feel instinctual to me, but he wanted it, and it was a long rack, and it was
Hmm.
then anyway. So I said, okay, okay. And then the next take, I didn't do it. And the director came out and he goes, so why are you going to tell me you're going to do it if you don't do it? I mean, why am I even here?
Oh
And I was
God.
like, ugh. And Joaquin came over, walked over, he just patted me on the shoulder. And he
Oh,
just looked at me like, so
that's so,
sorry. I
that's
know, it
so
was
great.
very sweet. It was very sweet. It was like, he may be method, but he wasn't so method that he wasn't,
He's still a
human.
human being, and he recognizes what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
but also, by the way, that in right there, that
Yeah.
says that he's someone who appreciates what you're doing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if he feels that way and is willing
Yeah.
to share that
Yeah.
with you, that's really lovely. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I'm like have a
Yeah.
little
But
tear in
then
my eye.
to
Um,
give the director a kind of a turnaround, so it was a couple days later, we had a techno crane shot that was just supposed to be a regular, like, um, he's in it's exterior, the insane asylum, and he's getting up from some bleachers and walking around to the other side of the gate. And
oh
we're
yeah,
just
oh,
taking him across as he gets up and across, and then another camera's in the way and takes him the rest of the way. So that's all we're going to do.
hmm
So, in typical Larry fashion, as we're going, he tells that camera, "Duck, duck, I'm coming, I'm coming." So he goes over them, follows him all the way out. Then Joaquin goes behind the gate, and he goes up like this. And so the gate is right here. His face is right here.
he's
So
an inch or two away from the gate,
right.
basically. Yeah,
So any
yeah,
light ranger bars are not helping you in terms of
because they're seeing the gate.
seeing
Yeah,
the gate, right?
okay,
And Larry just
yeah.
starts pushing straight in, straight in, straight in, straight in, straight in, straight in. He gets all the way into here, and they
Yep.
used that shot only in a trailer. It didn't make the movie.
Oh
But we
wow.
got all the way in, and he was sitting there right next to me, going, "She's going, she's got it, she's got it, she's killing it, she's killing it, she's killing it." And then we get all the way in, and he's like, and he's just like, "Ah, I'm fat. Let's go again." So we did it like,
This is Todd, the director. You're
no,
saying is
this
doing
is
that.
Larry. This is
Oh, this is
Larry.
Larry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
gotcha.
Todd's
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
4 cameras.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Wow. Good lord.
so he's
That's great.
that was the day we had 4 cameras. So he's not watching my shot. So we did that take like 3, 4 times, and each time I nailed it pushing in, and I
Nice.
was just like,
Good.
"Oh, thank God, thank God, thank God."
Please, can we move on?
Yeah. So the next day,
Yeah.
now meanwhile, I'm still in the mode where I think I'm going to get fired because the director has, yelled at me, and we're setting up a shot the next day, and I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, it's Todd, and he goes, "I just saw that shot from yesterday." And I was
Oh,
like, "Oh," and he goes, "You're doing a great job. Thank you." And I just looked at
that's
him and I
great.
said, "You win some, you lose some."
Yeah, right.
Turn it back
No, it's the
around.
truth. It's the truth.
I was
That's
like, I
great.
can't just be like, "Oh, thank you. I'm so great." It was just like, sometimes you win.
But yeah, but you know what? Going back to the focus pull that you were talking about, there is something interesting in that, and I've noticed this as a camera operator. It everybody thinks you can just do exactly what they want, and it's
Yeah.
just like, no, just go from here to there. But like
Yeah.
and I think this is because you're a storyteller, and I hope
Yeah.
I'm a storyteller. But and there's no sort of like it is the right way to tell the story or it's not the right way to tell the story. But if it doesn't ring true to you, it's very
Yeah.
hard to make that work correctly. Like I can absolutely go from like 1 to 2 to 3 and nail all those things.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't
Yeah.
work for me, it's very
Yeah.
hard to make it organic. And I think
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
says something about you as a focus puller where you're like, and I always look at it as a failing of my own. I always put it on myself, and I'm like, apparently, I just can't see this. I'm sure you're right, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you
It
do the
was
best
just
that you
so
can.
jolting, doing it
Oh,
that
yeah,
way, and it didn't
sure.
feel, but at the same time, I could see his point in
Yeah.
it was, and so I ended up having my second tap me on the shoulder to
Yeah, so
remind
then you
me,
come
"You
up
got to
with
do
some other
this."
way to make it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's and
And I was
I've
like,
been there,
"Okay."
and it's like
Yeah.
and again, it's not like he's necessarily wrong and you're right, it's just you're not seeing it the way he's seeing it, which
Yeah.
that's human nature and whatever.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
great experience, and you work with Greg Irwin on that, right?
Yeah,
Greg
yeah,
was
yeah.
on
And
the other
Greg and I
camera?
had never worked
Yeah.
together before. Larry had called me for the job. I had done some commercials with Larry some years back and had run into him at an Otto Nemitz thing recently, and was working on a musical. So I think that maybe that's
Oh,
why
okay.
I popped into
Yeah.
his head. I
Oh,
don't know. But anyway, Larry had hired me, and Greg was great. Actually, probably the most collaborative focus pulling experience I've ever had with another first AC. There's no
How so? Like, what does that
um,
look like?
so there's first of all there was no ego. He didn't
Uh-huh.
bring ego to the table, like because I was with Larry and he was with Colin, and so they did all the Steadicam shots, and they also did that long oneer. It was very purposeful that they did the long oneer that's
Which one?
throughout.
The opening one?
No, well, they did that with Steadicam, but the long oneer that goes from the explosion all the way through.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
goes down the rubble and
yeah,
into the car, and yeah,
yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
But how I would say it was incredibly collaborative. So what I was saying is that they did those, but then the majority, like Larry takes over the shots, and
Mhm.
Greg did not. He wasn't like, well, I should do this. I'm the A camera. He was like,
I gotcha.
it's fine. It's fine. That you stay with Larry, I'll stay with
You stay.
Colin,
Yeah,
and so it ended
yeah.
up being a lot of it ended up being mine and Larry's, but the key
Mhm.
moments, their
Sure.
signatures were on it,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Of course.
I was very the way it was collaborative was like every time we were doing those wonders, like the opening shot, he would have me say, Shelley, I want you to watch this shot with me. And I would stand next to him and watching on my monitor. He said, tell me, I want your notes. Don't worry
Wow.
about my feelings. I want your notes. And at the end of every shot, I would like, okay, here, here, and here. And he goes, okay, yes, okay, yeah, I see that, I see that. And so he would talk to me about every single one. And then if I was doing a shot, he would come to me and say, notes. It
Yeah.
was like the most
So great.
collaborative, and there was never a moment of stress between us, altercation,
That's
nothing. It
great.
was just like
That is great.
he's a good leader, he's a good
Yeah.
businessman.
Oh, yeah.
He took care of his
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
And
That's
our
great.
it was so very collaborative, but then also as far as the whole team being collaborative, Greg and I didn't change lenses. I would go out and line it up, but Jamie Pear, who is our A camera second, and Jerry Patton,
Mhm.
who's B camera, and Robin Bursey was our C camera. Jamie ran that set like
Wow.
circles, like and they all together between the three of was the two of them, and then we had a loader, a camera PA, and an interns that were there for the whole
Mhm.
movie. The
Yeah.
five of them would be on set changing lenses, doing marks, changing batteries, doing all of that so that we could concentrate on the focus,
Yeah.
because this was such a heavy focus show
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we had to have it that way. And so by that, when I say that it was very well run from the top to the bottom, it
Yep.
just was very good.
Wow. Sounds like such
Very
a
good.
dream. You and I briefly talked about why that movie didn't really hit, or maybe not why, but
Yeah.
how that movie didn't really hit, which is
Yeah,
too
it's
bad
so
because
sad.
it is a
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful film. It
Yeah.
just seems like it's maybe not what the fans were expecting, and like, I mean, it's
No.
kind of like Todd Phillips made the movie that he wanted to make, which I totally
Yeah. Well, if
respect.
you
Yeah, no,
notice, actually, the story of Lee, Lady Gaga's character, was the super
hmm,
fan who had an
yeah,
idea of who she thought the Joker was and should be.
yep,
And when it
yeah,
didn't turn out to be exactly, when he didn't turn out to be who she thought he should be, she
yep,
and half of her crowd walked out, which is
walked it out.
exactly what happened to the
Yep.
movie. So it's really quite genius. It's really
Yeah,
quite genius.
yeah,
And I mean, my interpretation of the ending and everybody's going to have their different interpretation, and there is no right
sure.
or wrong. I mean, I don't know from Todd or anybody else, I didn't ask, but
No,
when
it's what you saw.
when the guy at the end like cuts his face, to me, he is the actual Joker,
Mm,
like, because Lady Gaga's character Lee then goes to school because her dad's a doctor,
hmm.
right? Comes back and meets him. And that's sort of how they go on. So that's my feeling, is that Joaquin's character never was the Joker. He was the
Oh,
inspiration for the
interesting.
Joker.
Oh, that's
That's
interesting.
that's my and
That's your interpretation of it.
if you
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
it that way, And if you
Hmm.
see it, how then it's a really great movie. But I think people were like, "Wait, why wasn't Bruce Wayne in this movie? Why wasn't where was
Exactly.
people were
You didn't
had
give us what we expected.
yeah, yeah." And
Yeah,
there were
is what it
even
comes down
camera
to.
people that I respect as filmmakers who were just like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
that sucked." And I was like, "What do you mean it sucked? It's a good film." Like it's and
Yeah.
for it to get Razzies was so rude.
Oh, whatever. That's
So
all. That's all a
rude.
whole nother
Like,
thing. But it really is. It's an incredible accomplishment and a beautiful film. And the
yeah.
acting is superb, and
Yeah,
the
Larry
camera work
did a
and the focus
fantastic
pulling and
job.
everything. Everybody was great. I want to ask you a couple questions just about operators and operating.
Uh-huh.
Um, you obviously have worked with a lot of operators over the years,
Yeah.
and for people who are listening to this, who are moving up as operators, who want to become operators or whatever, what qualities do you look for in a good operator? What qualities do you think makes someone a good operator? Besides, obviously, they've got to be able to technically do the job. Like that's let's just
Right.
assume that's.
Well, I'm gonna say something that some people might find unpopular.
Okay.
Um, and because I do myself operate sometimes,
Hmm.
and I think it's really important to work your way up. I think it's important to know what everyone else's jobs are. I think it's
Great.
important to have worked as a first AC. You don't have
Hmm.
to spend 10 years as a first AC, but
Yeah.
at least have done some work as a first AC, understand the job.
Hmm.
I did a workshop recently where one of the SOC workshops where I helped out, and
Yeah.
one of the second ACs said to me, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to skip first thing. I'm just no good at it, and I really don't want to waste my time." And I thought that was the rudest thing that I had ever heard because nobody's just good at being a first AC. You
Yeah.
have to first be a second AC and then know what the first AC needs, and then you work as a first AC to understand how you can help the operator. And
Hmm.
I work as an operator sometimes. I'm like, oh, I could do this better to be a better first AC for them. Um, and I work as an operator sometimes to see how I can be more helpful to the DP. And sometimes I work
Hmm.
as a
Hmm.
DP, and oh, what do you need from the operator? So there's a reason for the ladder, and skipping steps on the ladder doesn't make you as good an operator.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important to spend time in each level. You don't I'm not saying you gotta I mean, I spent 20 years as a first. Does that
Yeah.
mean no, you don't need to do that. No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. But at least give it some time.
Yeah.
Spend some time as a camera PA. Don't be too good for that. Don't be too good to learn how to load. Don't
That's
be
great.
too good to lay marks,
Hmm.
organize the equipment, hit some sticks, know where it goes. Like an operator just goes and starts finding the slate. No, that second AC is nailing it for you every time. Like how
Yep.
do
Yep.
you know like all of those things. I
That's
just think
great.
it's important to, and it also gives you a sense of the team. You don't walk in and be like, it's when you're setting up shots, you know what's actually possible
Hmm.
because you understand lenses and close focus, and you just understand a lot more about it. It's not just all about framing because you know what? Everybody who's got an iPhone now thinks they're an operator. And I'm
That's
sorry,
absolutely right.
that's not what it is. It'll get you somewhere. And some people
Yeah.
will do well with it. But in general, just spend some time, be respectful of the job and be respectful of the people who've worked hard to get there too.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. What about the other side of that? Operators that you've worked with that you don't think are doing a very good job. Are there specific reasons why, like specific traits they have that you can think of? You don't have to name names, of course. That are problematic that people should try to avoid.
I would say lack of confidence.
Hmm.
Lack of confidence is one. Um, um, hmm. Or maybe trying to overstep and, oh, I can get this, or I can get this, or I can get this when they're saying, no, this is what we need. Or, knowing politically, that's another thing you learn with experience is politically how to understand, do I need to try and get another shot, or do I need to stand back right now?
Yep. Yep.
Also, if you're
That's
an
huge.
operator who is going to be jumping in on occasion, staying close to the monitor and
Yeah.
staying checked in and watching what they're doing so that at any moment, if you do have to jump in, you're ready. If you're sitting on a
Hmm.
truck reading a book because they don't need you, you're not going to get needed and
Yeah.
they're never going to
Yeah.
bring you in. So you got to just stay checked. It's hard. It can be hard to stay checked in, but
Oh yeah.
if you're somewhere close to the monitor, not sitting, maybe standing, so you're staying checked in,
Hmm.
um, then you're going to see. You're also going to watch how the other people are framing, so you can match what they're framing. Because some people love center punch, some people hate center punch, some people like a lot of headroom, some people like no headroom, some people like all the way over
Off
here,
to the
so all
side.
the way over here,
Yep. Yeah.
you have to see what people like. Some
No,
people
that's
like,
all that's
and
all great.
that's all what helps you
Yeah.
figure it all out. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Let me ask you another thing. So I'm a brand new operator who got a break, and I come in, and Shelly Clayton is my focus puller.
Hmm.
Um, eh, I personally don't look. There is a hierarchy in the camera department, and
Hmm.
I don't think that's because anybody's more important than anybody else. We all
Right.
have. I personally view it as we all have
Agree.
important things to do,
Agree.
but the hierarchy comes from there's a level of responsibility, and there's sort of a flowing downhill or whatever.
Exactly.
Um, uh, do I base it? I mean, how do I deal with that? Because I clearly don't know my job as well as you know your job, and I may very
Right.
well recognize that I don't know my job as well as you know my job.
Right.
So do I just basically go, hey, I'm in over my head. Can you help me? Or I mean, because I know that when I used to come in, the reason I ask is when I used to come in early, and I sort of hit very, very young. I was
Yeah.
25,
Yeah. I remember.
and I was surrounded by people who had been doing this forever, and I was like, I can't. Why am I telling you what lens we're putting on? I
Yeah.
mean, but I still have to
Yeah.
do that. So I'm just
Right.
wondering if you have any thoughts about that for people, because I think that's tough.
Well, as myself, whoever is hired and brought in to work with me, I'm going to give respect because somebody who hired me also hired them. So
Hmm.
if I can't be disrespectful, I'm not going to be disrespectful to anybody who's on a job because
Yeah,
that just
of
goes
course
without
not.
saying. So that
Yep.
first day, I mean, so that operator who comes in, I think if they're like just respectful back, um, and say exactly like you said, hey, you have more experience than this. They can say that or they don't, but just saying, being not bringing ego to the table.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. I say that across anything. There's really only room for one ego, and it tends to be the director. So
Or an
let
actor.
or an actor, but usually it's the director because it's
Yeah.
their thing.
It's their project. Yeah.
The director of photography who's going to be the most successful is not going to show that person ego. And that director of photography is in our department the only one that can have ego. And hopefully they keep that in check. But
Hmm.
none of the rest of us can have it. We are here to, you know, my
Well,
job
except the
is to
Steadicam operator, right? The Steadicam operator clearly has ego.
but
I mean,
they
we all know we're
shouldn't.
better than everybody else. They shouldn't,
Yeah.
but we do.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all like the Steadicam operator is great until their shot is soft. And
Exactly.
because nowadays
Yeah.
the focus pullers aren't right next to the camera, they blame the operator. Oh, your shot is soft.
Oh,
They don't
God, I
understand.
miss those
So,
days. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
I loved being on the knob. I really loved being on the knob. But it's just my job is to make sure that operator's shot is as good as it can be. So if I need to help them, I'm going to help them.
Yeah.
And I think the more that they can be, if you are a new operator, the more humble that you can be. Not, you don't want to roll over and show your belly, but the more humble you can be in assessing, I know you know what you're doing, and I was thinking maybe we could do this. Can we go from here to here? And what do you think if we do this or this? And then I'm going to be like,
Hmm.
sure. What do you think if we try this? And being open to the suggestions. If it's something where you're
Yeah.
like, no, they really want this, and I've got to get just this shot, I'm going to say, no problem. We'll get this. Let me know if you want to do something
Yeah.
different. Just like respecting,
Can
just
you
respect.
can you talk to me just a little bit about coming up in this business as a woman, and how that maybe that hopefully that's different now than it was when you first started, or I mean, Was it rare to
Yes.
see other women in the camera department back then? And
Yes. Yeah, it's always been a thing, but I didn't realize it when I got into it. That like I told you, the first job, female DP, the second job, 2 seconds, and the loader were women.
yeah, which was
Um,
rare back then, right? I mean,
yeah,
or not the
yeah,
norm anyway, I should say.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then fairly early on, on If These Walls Could Talk, Ellen Kuras was the first DP. And this was before
Yeah.
she hit it,
Hmm.
and then the entire camera department with women, except for
Oh,
our,
wow.
we had Chris Lombardi was our camera operator, but um, Ellen mostly operated, so he was not able to be out there as much as he wanted. But we had a female first AD, female, like it was a lot of women, because it
That's
was
great.
subject matter was abortion, so it was a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
So and I was working with Rebecca Baylor back then, and it was just a lot of it just felt very normal. And then I met Larissa very early on, Larissa Supplet.
Uh-huh.
Um, but then
Great
as I
second,
s-
I see.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
started seeing, like, when Larissa and I would work together, very often it was on a multi-camera thing, and it was all men, and then Larissa and I were the seconds that were the females.
Hmm.
And I started looking around and going, "Oh, wait, they're not above seconds. Oh, wait, they're not operators. Oh, wait, they're certainly not DPs." But I didn't really, I just kind of kept going because I just wasn't thinking that way. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a tall, I've said this a few times about being tall, but I'm a tall person. And I think that being tall, you look at the world a little differently. You can probably attest to
Hmm.
that. And
Yep.
I don't feel slighted or diminutive or anything. I just feel like it, I guess it's a little bit of tall privilege.
Hmm.
If I were to be quite honest with it,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got some tall privilege that I don't think, I don't realize sometimes. Um,
Do you see it as having significantly changed to the point where women are getting the opportunities that they didn't in the past to the level that they should?
um, yeah, I remember there was one time I went onto the camera truck, and a first AC had come in to fill in for a first AC that left, and said, "If this was my show, you wouldn't be here, because chicks don't belong in the camera department."
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
He's still working. He's still
I'm
working out
sure he
there.
is. Yep. There's a
Our
lot of them
paths
out there. Less and
our
less, I
paths do
hope,
not
but
cross. Our
yep.
paths do not cross. Um, but I do find I sort of steered away from those kind of people. And when I do
Yeah.
come across
Okay.
those kind of people, I just like, oh yeah, not my kind of people.
Yeah.
Um, and I sort of found my way to the women, and like the women that I work with, a lot of the women I work with have all been doing it as long as I've been doing it.
Hmm.
And we all hire each other. We call
Hmm.
ourselves the girl gang. And so I would say I have always had women. Whenever I'm working, I'm hiring women. Not all women, because I
Gotcha.
like a mix. I really like
Yeah,
I think
sure.
it's important to have a good mix of people. I would say it has changed. It's definitely changed. There are a lot more women getting opportunities.
Yeah.
That being said, we still have the, like, there are women out there hardworking, doing a great job. And there's some women that are still out there playing the female card, which I
Hmm.
don't like that. I don't like playing that female card. Just get out there on your own merits. And yes, you're a woman, but you're doing the job. You're not just doing the job because you're a woman. Now, if I'm
Yeah.
getting called because I'm a woman, okay, I got the call. I'll take it. But I'm not going to
Yeah.
go in there and play that card.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go in.
That's someone else's choice, not your choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Yep.
there's a certain group of us that we paved the way, and
Yeah.
there's the people ahead of me who paved the way for us. But
Sure.
then
That's
there's a
kind of why I
large group
wanted
of
to ask
us
you.
that
Yeah.
really paved the way, and I think sometimes the younger generation doesn't understand that. and they
I
sort
but
of,
I think that's unfortunately, I think that's normal
yeah,
on many
yeah,
levels, right? It
yes,
has nothing to do with this specifically. I think that's just sort of
yeah,
people
yeah,
go, "Well, this is what's normal to me, and so I don't think about what," I mean, I think
right,
that's
right,
unfortunately, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But that's kind of why I asked, because I think there are a lot of people coming up today. Well, it's weird because on the one hand, I think some of those people don't realize what you did to pave the way,
yeah.
and then there's another part of me that sort of is a little maybe happy that they don't realize that, because they're
They haven't had to
not
go through it.
realizing, well, and also
Yeah,
hopefully they're coming up in a situation where it's like, no, it's perfectly normal for the operator to be a woman, or for the first AC to be a woman, or the DP.
yeah,
Like, hopefully they've gotten to that point where it's like there's nothing special about this. I mean, because that's
right,
where I think we
right.
all want to get to, right?
Yeah,
Which
and
is
I feel
just
like
like,
that's definitely where it is.
yeah,
Um, it's definitely a lot
yeah,
easier
yeah.
in that
And
way.
I
The
think there's
higher
still
the
some of the,
position you get, like definitely is for loaders and second ACs, there's still like no problem, no problem, no problem.
yeah, yeah.
First ACs, it's still like they're like, but do you have this? Do you have this? Have you done
Hmm.
this? And luckily, I've stuck around long enough that I check off a lot of boxes.
Sure,
So
clearly, yeah.
that's that's good. Um, but still, operators can be hard because you don't
Hmm.
know why. Still, is it just because this person is female, or they're a friend, or this or that? And because
Yep.
so many so many are skipping the first AC step. So there's
Like you
no,
said. Yeah.
you don't know if they can do it, because you don't know if
Yeah.
they what their experience level is. If they're just all of a sudden an operator, I mean, I can't attest to whether or not, like, any of the first AC friends that I have, I would put them in as an operator in a heartbeat, because I know they're looking at frames all day long. They know that, it just it, they understand what they need in the frame. They understand what to do with the frame. It's just
Sure.
the mechanics of physically, it's the time behind the wheel. The time, just getting more and more time behind the wheel and getting that. And as I operate more and more, I used to think, oh, I need to practice, I need to practice, I need to practice. And now I feel like I've had enough practice where I'm like, okay, yeah, I can go and do that. I can go and do that. But
Hmm.
every day you practice is,
Yeah.
you learn something new.
Well, and again, because you want to be able to do whatever you're doing because you're good at it, not for you want
Yeah.
to get brought in because you're good at it, not for
Yeah.
any other reason. You sort of mentioned being pregnant the first time, and
Hmm.
having a child, and you have two kids. How
Hmm.
do you work in this business? You've been very successful. You're sought after. You're well thought of in the business. How do you work in this business and still raise a family?
It is not without its challenges. um, I was able to, it's funny, it's easier to be pregnant than it is to actually work with kids. Um, but I was able to work all the way through to 4 weeks before my daughter was born. And then I took off for about 5 months, and then came back and was only day playing and doing commercials, which we talked about. And then when my son came along, it was right when the writer's strike happened. So I ended up going ahead and just going on disability 5 months in, and spending that last bit of that year with my daughter alone. And then I was off for about 10 or 11 months total. And then did the same thing, went back. Um, I would say one thing that really made it possible for the first 5 years was having my husband home
Mm.
and able to take care of them. I didn't want to work every day. I wanted to be here as well, and he was freelance also, so I was trying to keep the door open for him to be able to get something. I was fortunate that I could say yes and say no, because I knew that he would be here.
Mhm.
Um, if I didn't have that, perhaps I would have had a babysitter or a nanny, or like there's a variety of ways that people do it, because there's a lot of people who do it now. I know if so many people have called me and say, how do you do this? How do you do this? So, but having, just being able to, I think being very flexible with the schedule. You can take a full-time show, and then you can make a deal with your whoever your boss is and say, hey, I'd love to do this show. Can I work in having somebody else, you know, trade episodes, or can I take Fridays off? Can I, you can, there's none of us that is so absolutely
Mhm.
unreplaceable that we can't, that we can't have people fill in. And it just passes more work around to people. So that then the more work passes around, the more people the your network grows. So for in that way, you can really do it. You can definitely do it. I think gone are the days where you're the person that is gone all year long and doesn't see the child. And that, there are definitely the movies that travel out of town, but now they're taking fewer and fewer of us with them. So
Mhm.
it's definitely, you can navigate it a little more. But I think just being open to being flexible, again, not taking your ego out of the equation, because you're going to have somebody fill in with you, and you're going to have to also be confident enough in your position and your job that you don't have to worry about somebody coming in and taking your job. You just have to be like, no, that I'm bringing in
Yeah.
somebody that's capable to do this job so that I can take these days off. Because if you bring in somebody that's not as good, then they're not going to let you take days off. So
Mhm.
and just trying to balance as much as I can, being there as much as I can with the kids. And then there are times where I'm like, I'm gonna miss this game, and I'm sorry. Yes, yesterday I missed the basketball game. The bummer,
Mhm.
but I have to miss them sometimes. I can't be at everything, but I'll be at as much as I can be. So just balance.
So this has been great. Thank you so much for all of this information, and it's just and it's good to see you and talk to you because I haven't seen you in a while and talked to you
Yeah.
in a while.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you with the final question that I leave everybody with, which is uh, advice for someone getting into the business today, or maybe what you wish you knew back in the day that you didn't know back in the day that you know now.
Get into it because you love it, because it is the only thing you want to do. It's what drives you. It's fun. You enjoy it, because every day I say at work, at the end of the day, I always say this and people laugh at me. We fooled them again. Which is like, we're having fun. We're getting paid. Like, we fooled them. We fooled them.
Hmm.
So, every day that you have fun at work is if you're having fun at work, you're doing the right thing. As far as the state of our business, I don't know. I don't know. I can't promise it's going to be here. I really don't know. It's changed so dramatically in 30 years. I can't believe it's been 30 years. 30 years ago this week that I was driving out here. Yeah, I arrived on the 29th. Yeah, it was literally right now as I was like, let's go, let's get in the car. Yeah. But 30 years ago, it was movies and movies and movies and lots of TV. But TV was very 22 episodes, and then the commercials in between. There was so much work. You could go from one show to another. There weren't as many camera people. So it was just, it was a golden time. I think when the writer's strike of 2008 came around, that was the first big nail in the coffin, because that's when things started going to Canada. And then COVID. But then we had a gangbuster, with the streaming and COVID, we had gangbuster year and a half or so. And the second writer's strike, that was the final nail in the coffin. And now they've figured out that we can shoot all over the world for a lot cheaper than we can shoot here. Because if they shoot in Europe, they don't have to pay health and welfare and pension and all that stuff, because it's all socialized there. They can pay people in South Africa, $100 a day, and they're happy for it. They can build stages of blocks of Hollywood Boulevard in South Africa for a lot cheaper than they can build here. I lost a job, a regular client that was here all the time, because they can build the stage in Colombia for cheaper. So they're going to go, that part of it is really sad. But they're always going to make they're always going to make movies. Um, it's just not going to be the plethora that it used to be. So if you really love it, if this is the only thing you want to do, then keep going and keep doing it and don't give up and just push and push and push and work and work and work. And don't be too proud to take whatever you're going to take. A DP that I work with told me a long time ago when she was my second, Cheli, I'm just going to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. I don't care. They can give me a porno. I don't care. I'm just going to shoot whatever they give me to shoot because I just want to shoot. Now, I don't think she ever did a porno, but she's very successful now. And she shot and she shot and she shot and she shot. Anything they would give her, she shot. And so that's what you got to do. You just got to keep going.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening and have a great day.